Welcome, everybody, to Resolve to Live Forward. This is John. I hope you're having a good day. For those of you that are listening and watching this live as it has just launched, it's Friday. It's Friday. We're at the very last Friday of the month of May. I want to send out a quick thank you. 2 weeks ago, the episode 2 weeks ago got 25 downloads. Now, somebody would say, big deal, 25 downloads. But what I've said before and what I need to remind you of is that the entire process that's taking place here is one of consistency. It's one of always being there. It's one of always being on the spot, on time with the program, talking to you about the things that are important to the specific group of people that this program is directed to. Resolve to Live Forward, the podcast. I'm John Morrow, the host. It's a monologue. Yes, someday, I don't know just exactly when, there will be people that will join with me and they will participate as guests and we will have conversations with each other. And those conversations might include some of you out there who may be watching this because of the journey that you've been on. But the purpose of the podcast is to talk to the individuals, the community of people who have gone through a grieving process. For me, the ultimate grieving process was the death of my wife. We know the story. But as I've also said on many, many occasions, we experience grief through so many, many, many things. And it doesn't just involve the experience of the death of someone that we love dearly or something that we love dearly. There's a lot of reasons for us to be racked with grief and guilt and sorrow and pain and anguish and feel that our lives are shattered. This podcast is made available through the podcast hosting services of Buzzsprout. Thank you, Buzzsprout, for what you've been doing for me. Without Buzzsprout, I wouldn't know that you are, in fact, listening to this podcast and maybe even watching it, for example, on YouTube. Number two, through Buzzsprout, this podcast goes out across many other podcast sites, including Spotify and the Apple Store, as well as probably a half a dozen other sites. That I'm thankful for as well. In addition to that, the YouTube channel. And of course, for you to contact me, you can go to johnmorrowcoaching.com. You can reach out to me at johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. And you can also, I'm sorry, I left one out. You can also reach me at John Morrow Coaching. Thank you so much. I'm in a series. This series started at the beginning of April. It's hard to believe we will have completed 2 months, but having said that, we still have at least another 4 months of series going. And provided I'm not providentially hindered, I intend to be here every weekend with an episode. This would be episode number 8 in the series. And it's a fitting last episode for the 8 weeks that we have been through here as we started in April and now have come through entirely to the end of the month of May. This is episode number 9. Episode number 9. And with its completion, its broadcast, as you're a part of today, beginning next Friday, I believe that date is June 5th, if my memory serves me correctly, we will hit episode number 10. And it will be uniquely different. But 9 is very special too, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. Today, the title of this episode is You Don't Find Purpose, You Build It. Let me say that again. You don't find purpose, you build it. Wow, what a great line. I actually can't take credit for that one because when I was using ChatGPT, I was looking for ideas. And my good friend, my bot from ChatGPT, said, I believe this might fit well with the message of this particular podcast. But let me kind of set it up for you here, if you don't mind. I'm going to begin with a question. Have you ever noticed how often people say this phrase? Think about it for just a moment. I'm trying to find my purpose. Let me say that again. I'm trying to find my purpose. If you ask somebody like me who on June the 9th is going to be 76, are you still trying to find your purpose? Actually, the answer might be many times, not all the time, but many times, yes. And here's why. After a loss or a heartbreak, or for that matter, a major life change, a job change, a situation change, a geographical change, that question, I'm trying to find my purpose, gets louder and louder. As a matter of fact, it it it's almost blaringly loud. And the questions that follow it go like this. What am I supposed to do now? Hmm, who am I now? Here's one for you. What's the point of anything anymore? I mean, what's the point? Why bother? But today I want to challenge something that may completely change how all of us look at this very, very powerful word, purpose. Purpose is a word that comes up a lot of times. There's a phrase that I've heard, vision, mission, purpose. Vision, mission, purpose, or vision, purpose, mission, or purpose, vision, mission. But they're all very powerful, and all three of them represent some meaningful direction that we're trying to go. What if purpose is not something you find? What if purpose is something that you actually build? I can speak to this. I think before I became widowed, before I watched my wife die, purpose was pretty much what am I doing now that I'm retired? What can my wife and I be doing now that we're both retired? What can we doing that gives us fulfillment, allows us to take the time that we now have because we're not locked into a 9 to 5 job anymore? What can we do also to perhaps maybe supplement our retirement income so that we have a little bit better quality of life? There were some things there. There are some things there. And they were in the mix. And both of us had the same set of ideas. And then we had our personal ideas that were amongst us as individuals. But what if purpose is something that you actually build and not something that you find? After my wife passed away, I wasn't walking around feeling like I had much of a purpose-driven life. And by the way, no disrespect intended for Rick Warren's book, The Purpose-Driven Life. Frankly, I just didn't feel deeply purposeful. I was trying to survive emotionally. I was stuck in a rut. I was in a place full of muck, and I was drowning in sorrow, the uncertainty, the emotional drifting back and forth. It was like I was on a life raft in the sea with 3 to 5 foot waves, and a feeling of disconnection was there. I didn't really even have a sense of future plans. I knew I had some structures, but I just didn't have anything meaningful. This is that time when you're trying to decide, do you want to get busy living or do you want to get busy dying? I may talk about my affinity for the Shawshank Redemption and particularly for the story, not just of the character of Andy Dufresne, but for the redemptive quality of the work that took place in the life of Red, his very, very best friend. But anyway, having said that, with the uncertainty and the disconnection, no future plans, and for a while, I think I expected purpose to somehow arrive and rescue me, and that's really a wrong perception, or purpose doesn't come. Slowly, I began to realize that purpose usually grows out of engaging with life. Now, let's pause for a moment. Those of you that know me and know my book, Resolve, Your Blueprint for Intentional Success, and know that resolve is one having a definite, firm plan of action. And the 7 letters in resolve represent 7 behaviors. And that first E that follows the letter R in resolve is engage or engagement. And that is the intentional practice of engaging life. And engaging life isn't just rolling around, sitting on the side of the bed, putting your 2 feet on the ground and standing up and getting busy. Now, that engagement is getting dressed, going out, doing things, participating in activities, and along the way, allowing yourself to be receptive to the unexpected surprises that will occur, knowing when to run when danger approaches, but also knowing when to engage because opportunity approaches. So I'm going to give you some insights here. Insight number one: purpose rarely arrives fully formed. Wow, wait a minute. Would you back up and say that again? Purpose rarely arrives fully formed. To go on here, and I'm reading some from what I wrote here. Most people do not wake up one morning with complete clarity. Well, duh. There are mornings when waking up is kind of hard, and the only thing I can think about is how quickly can I get to that first cup of coffee? Purpose often develops while you're moving. You're up. You may not even have anything scheduled, or if you do have something scheduled, it's a little bit later. I'll give you an example today in the recording of this particular program. I knew that I needed to be in Ruskin, Florida, which is south of Tampa, and I needed to be there in time for an 11 o'clock very special 1 hour service from 11 until 12 noon at Ruskin First Baptist Church. My granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, Donna Melrose Morrow, graduated that day. As a matter of fact, at the recording of this program, it was actually today. She graduated from BPK. She's going to be officially starting K5 in this coming fall year when the session begins, K5. And she's emerging and growing, and she's still a little girl, but she's not the little baby girl that I knew. She is changing. She is engaging. Okay. So I knew I had something coming up for the day, and I had an activity that I was going to be taking part in. And that activity would also include all the fun and celebrating that takes place afterwards. And that happened. And then I made my way home, and I had some activities that I had to do this evening here in Lakeland locally. One of the fastest ways to rediscover meaning in life is to realize that the idea of purpose is that you get moving and you allow yourself to be engaged by people. And through the process of engagement, you begin to expand your connectivity with people, with life, and with meaningful things. One of the fastest ways to rediscover meaning is to become useful again. That's right. You need to be useful. And if you're waiting for somebody to come and tell you, hey, you're useful, I'm not being disparaging, but if you wait for somebody, they may not come. It's just how life is. We all have our things that we're doing and we get distracted. And that also makes me sad sometimes because in being that way, we overlook. So the insights are quite simple. Purpose rarely arrives fully formed. Insight number two: pain can either isolate you or deepen you. That's why you need to engage and get moving and develop an understanding of yourself, your feelings, and how you can engage people in life and the meaning of all of that. And then insight number three is that purpose is built through contribution. Not contribution in dollar sense, although I do believe in giving, financially giving as best as I can with the resources that I'm gifted with and thankful to be blessed with. But it is also the contributing of your personal capital, the talent that you possess. That's why I serve in Toastmasters like I do, because through Toastmasters, I have an opportunity to give. Now, am I appreciated all the time for it? No, I'm not. There are people who honestly don't get my willingness to give and my desire to serve and to be helpful. They misinterpret it and they look at me the wrong way. Well, I have to understand that's their problem and not mine. So in the inside of that, One of the fastest ways to rediscover meaning is to find yourself being useful again. Toastmasters, by the way, was one of a number of things that gave me a useful, meaningful purpose. But the key thing here in being useful is sometimes it's being useful as, how do you say, a cheerleader for people. You encourage others, you serve others, you share ideas, and you teach knowledge and ideas with people, and you share your personal experiences of life. That's what I'm doing this podcast. I'm sharing personal experience. I'm talking about the journey, painful though it is, and still is. It's still a journey that has purpose and it has meaning, and it is important for you to know if you're in the midst of it, you still have something to give to this world. Contribution is how you reconnect with your purpose in life, giving it away. Now, granted, don't give it away at the risk of destroying anything meaningful in your life and giving up your capital and letting it be exploitive of you. This is where insight number 4 comes in. Your future identity should never be locked to what happened in the past. I've always said, don't let your sorrows define your life, because if you let your sorrows define your life, sorrow makes the decisions for you rather than you making them. So the hardest thing for many people who have experienced loss is imagining that life can still hold meaning and purpose. But your story did not end just because your life changed and somebody very special or something very precious to you was taken from you wrongfully. Wrongfully. Okay, I confess. You've been violated. I was violated. It hurt. It hurt terrible. But you see, your story hasn't changed just because your life has changed. The story didn't end with a period just because your life changed. There's another sentence to be written. There's another line to be written. There's another paragraph. There's another chapter. Do you know that after Donna died, I wrote my book? I thought about a book for years. But the book became a reality in November of 2023, and it's entitled Resolve, Your Blueprint for Intentional Success. It's available on Amazon in paperback and also as a Kindle download. So these are the insights. Remember, purpose rarely arrives fully formed. Pain can either isolate you or deepen you. Insight number 3, purpose is built through contribution. And insight number 4, your future identity is not locked to your past identity. So how do you begin building purpose? How do you once again become a person with a vision, a mission, and a purpose for everything that you do? There are some steps to take. This is the application process. And the first one is re-engage with life intentionally. I mentioned it earlier. Re-engage. Don't curl up in the bed, roll over, and hide under the pillow. Don't curl up in a corner in a fetal position and wait to die. Don't sit there in front of a TV set staring at it and going into couch potato veggie mode. Get busy. Get busy living. Go back to Shawshank Redemption. Andy turned to Red and said, I guess it comes down to this. Let's get busy living or get busy dying. What Red didn't realize was what he thought was Andy declaring that it's time to die. There's no more meaningful purpose. He's trapped in prison. There is no hope of him getting out or being exonerated. So what's the purpose in trying? What Red did not realize is that Andy, from the moment he arrived in that prison, never lost hope. Re-engage life. Purpose grows where engagement exists. And let me give you some examples of engagement here, and I wrote them down. I got a list of them right here. Okay, number 1, volunteering. Number 2, learning. Remember, the letter L in resolve is for lifelong learner. Number 3, speaking. I'm a speaker. I get paid to speak in some cases. I'm thankful for the money. And by the way, if you're looking for a professional speaker, I am a professional speaker in this specific subject matter, and I'm glad to come to your place. I've done a TEDx as well. but speaking. And it's how I communicate. It's how I tell myself. It's wired into me, but I'm a storyteller. Creating. Writing a speech is creating, but creativity can also be creating relationships, creating opportunities, and helping people become the best version of themselves. And that goes into mentoring. That's another thing. Mentoring is not coaching, although I do like to coach people and I do coaching classes on communications and leadership as well as mindset. And in the coaching process, what I'm doing is I'm using practical tools that people have to put to work, and I'm going to hold them accountable. Mentoring, though, is where you come along beside somebody and you walk along the road with them and you remind them they can do it. And you always let them know while they're doing it, they've got a fan there that's in the cheering section for them, just yelling as loud as they can, saying, you can do it, you can do it. And of course, serving. Serving is a wonderful thing. And I find that the more I serve, the longer I live, the more I'm able to give, the more I'm able to volunteer, and all of these things, the better life gets. So there's my short list right there of the things that I have found that work well for me: volunteering, learning, speaking, creating, mentoring, and serving. Now, step number 2. Stop waiting for certainty, because a lot of things you do without any degree of certainty. I'll give you a perfect example. The TED Talk that I did, the TEDx presentation that I did back on February 21st of this year, 2026, I had a specific outline, but I was still in the structure of the speech. I knew where I wanted to get with it eventually, but the structure of that 10-minute speech was a work in progress. And it's a good thing that I had mentors and coaches and fellow speakers who were listening to me and giving me feedback and giving me ideas. So you see, I stopped waiting for certainty and I just got busy acting. Clarity often follows the act of doing, the act of moving, the act of the step of faith. It's never the other way around. I've told people, if you wait until you feel you're ready to give a speech, you'll never give it. If you wait until you feel like you're ready to evaluate a speaker and give them feedback, you'll never be ready. The idea is to exercise that step of faith without really having complete certainty and without having confidence sometimes. And structure is that way because you're not waiting for the certainty, you're in the act of living forward. Which brings me to step number 3. And this is one I have to work on. Ask better questions. Wait a minute. What do you mean? Well, instead of what's my purpose, the question you should be asking is, where can I create value today? Let me repeat that again. Instead of asking the question, what is my purpose? Ask the question, where can I create value today? Value for my life, value for the people that I love, value for the people that I'm associated with in Toastmasters, and value for anybody else that I have the opportunity to engage. So ask better questions. And finally, step number 4, build meaning through consistency. I mentioned earlier, I've been doing this podcast now for 2.5 years. I have worked on the consistency to the point that now I produce it once a week, every week. And almost over the last year, I've had every episode come out on time on Friday, although there have been a couple of occasions where the distractions of life got in the way and I didn't get it out quite on time. But the one thing that I'm thankful for is that I've consistently been putting these episodes out. Consistency is important, but consistency also means something to the people that are following me, something to the people that see me. And that consistency also bears itself out in how I live my life every day in front of other people. They don't want to see somebody that's this way one day and then a different way the other day. What they want to do is they want to see somebody who is consistent day in and day out. Small intentional actions repeated over time create a meaningful life. Again, I repeat, small intentional actions created over a period of life and repeated again and again and again will lead to a meaningful life, not just for you, but a meaningful life for other people. So, having shared those steps with you, step number one, re-engage with life intentionally. Step number two, stop waiting for certainty. Step number three, ask better questions. And step number four, build meaning through consistency. You may not fully see your future yet if you are in this struggle that I have been talking about often over the course of these many, many weeks. And as I said before, this June 7th, I say June 2nd, it will be the 7th anniversary of the death of my wife, Donna. There are aspects of that time back there that I don't remember. I mean, they're there, they're here. I just don't remember them, but there are meaningful things that I do remember. But it's okay. See, those memories have a purpose, but they're not the crux of things. It's having an idea of living forward, and that's about thinking in the future context, but it's not about dwelling in the future. I want to make an important distinction here. There are people out there who borrow trouble from tomorrow. You've heard the FEAR acronym, false evidence appearing real. When you let space be taken up in your brain with fear of the unknown, you're not thinking about a brighter future. You're not laying the groundwork for a definite, firm plan of action. You're allowing yourself to believe that failure is inevitable and that something unfortunate is going to befall you. If you dwell on that, you're going to lose the value of what you can do today. It's okay if you're not fully certain of what your future looks like, but the most meaningful lives are built through decisions that are made intentionally, one at a time, step by step. I heard this in a movie many, many years ago. I think it went like step by step, life is hard, inch by inch, life is a cinch. Oh, yeah, inch by inch, life is a cinch. Yard by yard, it's very hard. But it makes sense. Sometimes life has to be inches, a game of inches. I've said before, Dr. Martin Luther King said sometimes the greatest step of faith is seeing only one step as you walk through a door. But you take the one step because you see it in confidence that as soon as you take the first step, the next one will appear. Which brings me to the final line here. Purpose is rarely discovered all at once. Purpose is rarely discovered all at once. More often, purpose is built through how you choose to live each and every single day of your life. If you have a definite, firm plan of action and you have applied behaviors, and I have behaviors that I have applied in my life based upon my power word, resolve, and the 7 behaviors that I attach to each of the 7 letters in that word, resolve. R for resilience, E for engagement, S for service, O for organization, L for learning, V for vision, and E for enthusiasm. So here's the question I want you to sit with today as we wrap this episode up. Where is your life at this particular time, and where in that life could you begin to create meaning again? Where in your life could you create meaning again instead of waiting for something meaningful or purposeful to appear? Which is better? Make it happen or sit around and wait and hope it happens. I can tell you with complete certainty and authenticity in my life, I have lived with intentionality. Have I been successful every single day? No. I don't expect success every day. But at the same time, too, I am not going to let failure be a precursor to defeat. Failure is an opportunity. Failure is a learning opportunity. I do believe Robert Kiyosaki said this, but I think he actually borrowed it from the late Dwight L. Moody, because Moody said something like this as well, and I got Moody's quote. It says, "We should not fear failure nearly as much as succeeding at something that simply doesn't matter." Let me say that one more time before I conclude. We should not fear failure nearly as much as succeeding at something that just doesn't matter. What kind of purpose you got going for you now? Think about it. And while you're at it, share this information with your friends and tell them you'd like them to join you to listen to Resolve to Live Forward. I'm John Morrow. I thank you for being here with me again. My primary Gmail address is johnmorrowcoaching@gmail.com. And you've been listening to this on Spotify, the Apple Store, and other podcast platforms, as well as watching it on YouTube. Thank you for joining me. I look forward, by the grace of God, to speaking to you again this time next week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy, if you are listening to this as we are at the end of May. I hope your May's been great, and I hope your June turns out to be explosively great. But until then, John Morrow saying thanks to you so very much. I said, thanks you. John Morrow saying thank you so very much for being with me today. You have made this a meaningful experience. And like I always say, as we wrap things up, above all else, resolve each and every single day to live forward. Bye-bye for now.